Hey everyone, Gary here from Echidna Sewing, and today we're going to take a look at the SoftLight Polycotton CoreSpun sewing thread. It's a mouthful. CoreSpun, polyester, sewing thread, what is it all about? So that's what this video is about, is explaining just the benefits of using what we call a polycotton CoreSpun sewing thread for your normal daily sewing. And the first thing to explain is, what does it mean? So when we say CoreSpun, it means that the thread actually has a core to it. So this spool of thread, for instance, has a polyester filament, which is a non-spun thread. So that's just like strands of thread, a filament thread, and it's wrapped in cotton. So it's wrapped in like a spun cotton. Now that gives you a great deal of strength and versatility. Polyester has more strength than cotton. That's pretty much a given. Most people are aware of that. But cotton has a better sewability than polyester in most applications. So in a perfect world, you'll combine the two features, strength and sewability, and that's what a polycotton CoreSpun thread delivers. So what does that actually mean when it comes to your sewing machine? And the first and most important reason for using a polycotton CoreSpun thread, I've mentioned the word sewability, and what it means is that the thread itself forms a better thread loop, or a thread loop, stitching loop, or the actual stitching mechanism. So every time a stitch is formed, a thread loop has to form at the needle eye for the hook mechanism, the shuttle mechanism, to pick up the stitch and form the stitch and complete it. And this type of thread gives you a better formation, which means it will deliver less missed stitches and slip stitches. And I'm sure you've all seen that from time to time, where you get like an errant missed stitch, where you can see that the thread's there but it hasn't formed a stitch. And that's a common thing in sewing, and using a polycotton CoreSpun thread will often negate that, particularly when you're sewing on synthetic fabrics and knit fabrics, where you get all sorts of reasons for that thread loop to collapse. So sewability, that's really the key. Now the other part to sewability when we talk about synthetics is we have a thing called static electricity. We all know what that is. You've all been zapped by static electricity from time to time. And on a sewing machine, static electricity builds up during the stitching process. So as your needle's going through the fabrics, and whatever it is you're stitching, but particularly on polyesters or elastics or anything synthetic, you do get a lot more static and heat build up on the needle, and that then causes a reaction with the thread. So the thread loop, which is needed to form the stitch, doesn't always form correctly. Polycotton CoreSpun threads help alleviate that, because cotton, being that it's cotton wrapped around a polyester, cotton is not as affected by static electricity or heat buildup, and so it holds its stability better than 100% polyester. So that's another key reason for using a polycotton CoreSpun thread. And there's more reasons too. Another one is just the finish. So often in sewing, we do want a nice sort of simple matte finish, as opposed to like a glossy sort of or dare I say it, polyester finish. So polyester usually has more of a sheen and a shine to it, and often we don't want that. We want a matte finish. Cotton does give you a more of a matte finish, and in most of your sewing applications, that's usually preferable. You want the stitching to kind of just blend into the fabric and not be the star attraction. It's designed to create your seams and create your, put the garment together and do it subtly without being seen. So matte finish is a good thing. Now that matte finish also is great if you're looking for some embellishment stitches. Maybe you're putting some decorative stitches that you just want to sort of not to pop too much, or some heirloom stitching or something like that. Again, this thread forms a beautiful decorative stitch and gives you that lovely matte finish. It's so good, we even recommend using it on some of your embroidery too. Now this is a Dawn Johnson design that we have actually stitched using our polycotton CoreSpun thread, the SoftLight polycotton, and it stitches beautifully. It doesn't lint too badly as well, not as much as some of the cottons that are on the market, and it does give a lovely matte finish. Now along with that sort of matte finish comes quite a soft hand, and that's another benefit of using a polycotton CoreSpun thread, is we have what we call the hand of the thread, which is the way that the thread drapes or sits, and it's not as it's not as springy and stiff as a 100% polyester thread. So again, another benefit for using the polycotton CoreSpun thread. Of course, you'll notice that the SoftLight polycotton CoreSpun comes on a cone and not your typical kind of cop arrangement like this. Now, it's not that this is a bad way to deliver thread, it's just that putting it on a cone, in our opinion, is a better option because it actually delivers the thread in a more stable way, if you like, and it's very, very difficult for the thread to get caught somewhere where it shouldn't. Now, if I was to put this thread on the machine, if you've got a machine that has a lay-down spool pin like this one here, and putting the thread on, we would just simply slide that on like you would any other spool and put your little cone holder or your cap there and thread it the normal way. So if you've got a lay down type thread system, it's a perfect situation for you. Now, by comparison, if we're using a cop type of spool, it is possible when we put this spool on for the thread to get caught around the bottom of the cop, and that's quite a common thing. It's not the end of the world, you just got to be mindful that that can happen, but it can't happen using a cone type of spool because there's no way for that thread to get back behind. Now, you may have a machine that doesn't have the lay down type spool pin, or you don't have a different type of thread stand on the machine. Yours may indeed be a pull-up type of spindle, in which case the thread would have to sit like this and would, theoretically have to come off at right angles. You don't want to do that because you don't want to have to turn the weight of the spool while you're stitching. So we do have an answer to that. It's a great little gadget, one that we designed and produced here. It's a little thread stand. So imagine your machine only has a vertical spool pin like this. Now, if I was to put that thread on there, it's not going to sit correctly and the thread's not going to work very well at all. But armed with our little thread stand here that just pops over that guy there, you can now position the thread and get a perfect thread delivery using this little gadget here. It's our Echidna mini thread stand available on our website. I recommend them anyway, everyone should have one, they're very useful, but that does give you the perfect thread delivery. Thread comes off vertically and down into your machine as normal. And again, for those machines that just have a pull-up spool pin, that is an essential part of what you might need. You can use any other type of thread stand that you might have too. In fact, we've got one of the guys here. One of these guys here will give you the same result and will give a vertical thread delivery. This one just sits on your table, but as long as you've got good thread delivery, you'll get good results. The other types of spools that are available, of course, the smaller cops, which are quite common. You'll see these in most sewing stores, and not a lot of thread on them, and they're okay, but they're certainly not as economical as the cone type or the type that has a lot more thread on it. So when it comes to value, let's do a little comparison. 100 meters and 1,000 meters. Typically, these will be less than twice the price of the 100 meter spool. So you'll get another 900 meters for less than twice the price of these guys. So prices will vary, obviously, from depending on where you're shopping, but you will always get better value out of a cone type of spool like this. And the Echidna SoftLight polycotton CoreSpun thread does represent terrific value in the market. So there we go, there's a bit of information about the SoftLight polycotton CoreSpun thread, and a great sewing thread for all your regular sewing. It's also great on overlockers too, by the way, and cover stitch machines because of that stability that we get from the polycotton construction and the CoreSpun construction. You're just going to get great stitch formation. Currently available on our website, 1,000 meter cones, and I think there's 52 shades at the moment, and the price is excellent. It's so versatile and you can use it across virtually anything you want to do. And I just think it's a great addition to your sewing room and you'll get terrific results. So for now, happy sewing.